Okay, so when I did the video on Warren, letting people know that Warren had passed, I wouldn't release any information on him, and the reason I done that was called respect. Something that's missing from society today is called respect for others, for Warren's family, for Warren's brothers, and his mother. See, the reality is I knew that people would figure out that he had taken his own life. In Warren's words, it was, if things get too bad, I'm going to check out. So he checked out. Okay, that's what this really is. Now, the thing is this, when it comes to Warren. Warren, people knew that he had Asperger's. But there's things people didn't know that I never talked about with anybody, okay? Warren didn't just have Asperger's. Warren was born with Asperger's, okay? Autism, thanks to Big Pharma in general. And I'll leave it at that. He also was paranoid schizophrenic, and most people would have never guessed that. He didn't think like normal people. He couldn't, because he was paranoid, he was schizophrenic, and autism, Asperger's on top of it. Guaranteed he had a very hard life, very handicapped. Don't think like other people, don't understand things, don't register. Okay? His oldest brother also has autism, but Warren got the better end of it. Warren liked to say he was higher functioning, but in reality it was his older brother that was higher functioning, holds down a full-time job, and knows how to take care of himself. Okay? When it come to that. Warren, unfortunately, as much as he wanted, I don't think he could have. Not saying he couldn't. Okay? But I don't think he could have, you know. The reality is I've known Warren for years. You know? And the reality comes back to, this is the reason I stuck up for Warren and I didn't say nothing to people, because of respect. Because see, Warren was found in his garage, his shop, hanging. He hung himself. And he was found by his youngest brother. That's going to be something that's going to live in his youngest brother's mind for the rest of his life. And any time he walks out into that garage, he's going to remember seeing his brother hanging there. Very sad. See, so I have respect to not run his name. And for a person to come up and do what they did when I stood up for Warren is because it takes somebody who's really low to pull something like that, you know. And when I made a statement that Warren was not racist, it was no lie. He never was. Okay, when I used the research that he had found, Warren, you got to understand, did not comprehend a lot like other people. How could he? He had next to no life experience. He had autism, which means you already don't think like you think. Okay? And then on top of it, to be paranoid schizophrenic? No. See, Warren's last few months, he was running on fear. He was paranoid. I literally, I talked to Warren thousands. I mean, there's got to be thousands of hours that Warren and I have talked. I've known him for a long time. This is why when a certain party made a crack that because they met him, they now know him better than me, was such a fucking joke. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that don't have a brain cell working in their head? That was an example. Because they forgot, I guess they forgot that knowing somebody comes through time and communication. And sometimes, even with tons of communication in years, you still don't know somebody. So for him to make that crack was just a complete joke. I've known Warren for years. We've literally talked probably thousands of hours. Okay? I knew him really well. One of the things that people didn't know was his last few months of his life, he was running on fear. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, it was TFL. No, it was not TFL related. Warren hadn't been bothered by TFL for over 2 years. Not whatsoever. He had already made up his mind he didn't want anything to do with a woman in today's society. He's seen how people are treating each other, and he walked away from it. Okay? He figured he's not going to get anybody anyhow, and if he did get somebody, this is the way he's going to be treated. He's not putting up with that, so he just accepted it. So no, it was not TFL. I know what it was. You know, I knew what it was, and it's sad. You know, sometimes these words came from a friend, Harry. Some people just shouldn't wake up to what's going on around them, because they won't be able to handle it. History's replayed itself over and over. And the reason it replays itself is because nobody ever learns. They repeat the same things that got them there in the first place. And that's exactly what's going on in this world. A certain person who's been making videos that I give no attention to, that gets no attention, not whatsoever, okay, isn't worth the attention. Well, they were responsible for throwing that racist card. And in my experiences, the majority of people who throw the racist card, now and again when they throw the racist card, they're telling the truth, and the person they're saying it is actually is. But that's not the majority of the time. The majority of the time, the person throwing the racist card is actually the one that's racist. And in this situation, that person would be the racist one, and I did a terrible job of being one. I forgot to bring up their race in my first video on Warren. Oh my God, you know, I didn't bring up his race. I guess I'm terrible at it, right? No, I've never been, nor has Warren. That's not something I've ever been. People that know me from being up here for years know this. People who don't really know me or think they can get one over, well, they run their mouth, they tell on themselves, and I don't care. See, it doesn't matter. It's just like exposing somebody because they have an opinion, okay, that you disagree with. So I'm going to expose them. Well, you're exposing them because they have an opinion? Newsflash, newsflash. Opinions are a lot like buttholes. Everybody has one. Everybody. And most people's opinions, because of individuality, will not line up. You know, everybody's going to have a different opinion on stuff. So to say I'm exposing somebody based on an opinion, okay, is to say I'm God and my opinions trump everybody's opinions. I'm above everybody, smarter than everybody, because I'm God. That's what that's to say. Okay? Because it could be no other way, because everybody worldwide has an opinion. Just like they have an anal. Okay? So, and And individuality, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just a clown show. That's what that is. It's a clown show in its making. Okay, so, I won't say no more. I'm not saying no names. I'm not saying no channels because this is not promoting, and I will not promote a clown. Okay, because that's what they are. Is they're a clown. Okay, and they can do all they want. They'll still get no attention. I don't care. See, you're not going to affect me any because I just don't care. Matter of fact, I don't even watch what you post. If you think I have, you're seriously wrong. Okay, because that's not how I am. I've done this stuff for many years, believe me. And this person has nothing on nothing. He just has a mouth with very little brains. And it's sad because he's done attack a handicapped man, okay, that has passed away, that done nothing to him whatsoever. That's even sadder because, and that's the reason I stuck up for him, and that's the reason I always would stick up for him. See, I stayed his friend regardless of what he felt and what he thought, okay? I know what happened at the end. The last 4 or 5 months of his life, he was running in complete paranoid as hell, scared as hell. And over what? Because he was watching what was going on in the world, and he's researched and knows that we have all these concentration camps, and he sees the executive orders being pushed over TV from who's currently the puppet of the United States, okay? And he understands history's always replayed itself, and he didn't want to be on disability and rounded up. He was breaking his butt to try to get off of disability, and he didn't have the concept, even if you give him advice, to take advice. He didn't listen. But see, that's part of the issues that he had. It always was. The reason he talked over the top of people is because he didn't listen. He didn't pay attention. That was part of his disability. He don't take things and comprehend things the way other people do. He never had. But for somebody who don't know him on that level, they'll never pick that up. And I've known Warren for a long time. Thousands of hours of talking with this man because he didn't know how to, when he talked, okay? There's times I just fucking did not answer to him because it was every day of the week, okay? And if he could get by with it 2-3 times a day, okay, easy. 3-4 hour conversations at a time. And I understood it. He had shit for friends, his disability. So when he felt he had a friend, he had nothing else to do. So this is what he did. I talked to him so long, so many years, and so you're damn right I come up and stuck up for him. And I always will stick up for him, and I had respect for the family. Okay? And the person who went up on a live stream and ran their mouth and said he was something he wasn't is attacking a handicapped man that actually wasn't. And now, of course, he can say all he wants on me. I don't care. I'm none of the above. This guy's just pulling crap out as you know what. And it is underhanded and low to record phone calls with people without telling them first. But that just shows that you have an underlying agenda. Okay, that you would be recording people talking to you on a phone and not telling them. Okay, because this is what he's doing, and he's actually showed you that I never lied in what he's done recently without me watching his stuff. He's got a 44-minute live stream up there that I've seen maybe a minute, a little less than a minute of, Yeah. Because I don't care. And I haven't been back to the channel. There's no reason to. Okay? He's never going to get no attention from me. This is the only attention this man's going to ever get from me. Okay? That you're hearing right now. And the only reason I came back up here today is because I've talked to the family again. And it's to a point now where I feel comfortable coming up and telling you what really transpired with Warren. I feel bad for him. I know why he did what he did. He felt he was trapped. That he was trapped on disability. He didn't want to be rounded up when we repeat history again, which is going to happen. And he didn't want to be one of them, and he wanted off of it so bad. You know? And I understood that. And I've tried my best to get it through to him that it's just simple. Get a job, hold a job, prove you can hold a job and get this many hours in per week, even if you have to get 2 jobs to do it, and you will be removed from it. Okay, but it never clicked. It never clicked. And he was paranoid as hell and scared as hell. And I knew it. And we talked, and I says to him, I says, Warren, you are paranoid. You're scared as hell. And he says, yes, I am. And he was. It stood out. See, it had nothing to do with TFL. This is why Warren took his life. He did what he said he was going to do. He checked out. He didn't want to be around when history replays itself again. And people like the person who's doing all this that I'm not saying no names on, they're right there with the elite. They're doing exactly what the elite want done. Divide and conquer. Of course it's going to replay itself again, because people like that will help it to replay itself again. He could never say he's awake, because he's not awake to nothing. Okay, he's following his social engineering, his brainwashing, his programming to a T. He's creating division, making trouble for others, just like the powers to be want. I will stay quiet and I will say no more about this topic. Okay? I've said what I've had to say now, but this is how it is, okay? Warren was meant well. He was a good person. He really was, and he really meant well. But he had very little life experience because of his handicap. He didn't want to be handicapped. He didn't want to be seen as handicapped. He felt that he fit in with everybody else, and he wasn't handicapped when he actually was. Okay? And he struggled for friends because of this. So he had very few friends, so damn right I stood by him. Okay, always did. So what, I mean, you know, regardless of what he said and I may disagree with and blah, 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 because nobody always agrees upon things. It's like I said about opinions. Everybody has their own opinion. Warren's mind did not work like other people's minds did. You have to always take that into consideration and remember that. And it is a low-life scumbag thing to do to attack somebody like Warren, who's done nothing to you just because you can. That is a scumbag thing to do. Like recording phone calls without asking anybody or telling them. Okay? Scumbag thing to do. That's what you call a scoundrel, somebody who can't be trusted. Okay? Somebody who's following their programming to a T, just like they want, divide and conquer. The real reason history will replay itself is for these reasons. Because this is exactly why history replays itself. How could you ever stand together to say no to stop something when you're so busy creating the division they wanted you to? It's pathetic, but this is where we live, man. Okay? With that being said, guys, I'm out of here. I'm not going to say no more, but now you know what took place with Warren. And you know why I stuck up for him. Okay? Because he didn't deserve what he got. Okay? And to attack somebody like him that's done nothing to you and then try to claim that you're a good person, yeah, you're right there on your knees for the banksters is what you are. The powers to be have got you where they want you. And you're going along with your social engineering, divide and conquer. They win, you lose. And with that, I'm out of here.